Anyone else wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll come back up to council. Council, it's in our hands.
Do you want to consider the first
I think it would be appropriate for
we need to
council to take up the preliminary question that Mr. Drack raised, which was whether or not you're interested in essentially renoticing the hearing and reopening the hearing.
the third option.
Right.
Okay. You have a comment on that?
I would say that I took the time to drive over there today to look at the lot. I saw Mr. Asher's project next door. It looks fine, but the thing is, it's huge. It's really incongruous with the neighborhood. It's fine if it's the only one there, but to put two of these projects, one right next to the other, I think is a mistake. The old building that is there is typical of the eclectic style of architecture that we have there. Looks like a cut block building. Those sorts of things are not going to be coming back. There's a few others in town, but you know, it's semi-unique. I don't know that I want to open this up to consider the project again. I've been through it all. I mean, I don't know about how the rest of you feel, but you know, I followed this right from the beginning, and I know what the problems are, and to hear it rehashed a third time, I don't think is going to do any of us any good.
Okay. Any other comments?
I would agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I too have, you know, as I mentioned with Mr. Dowswell earlier, I've been in the area, I've driven around, and, you know, the lots are non-conforming. And I see some projects that have, you know, in essence, you have a shoebox that's 3 shoeboxes high.
Yeah.
And to get the square footage and that sort of thing. While I did also look at the plans, you know, 1,300 square foot facilities, you know, on a 41-foot wide lot is a bit much for me. But you know, that was the Planning Commission's decision, and that was the recommendation. And I think we have, I think we owe it to not just the applicant, but to the people who live in the area. We've known for a while that this is a difficult area. That is that the ordinances don't match with what we're trying to do, and I see us making some movement to change that. I'm not as well not interested in renoticing or hearing at this point. So
if that's the consensus, then I think maybe one could permit
that would be
the applicant's
I would now call on Mr. Director to
say whatever
forward.
else it was he had intended to say.
Thank you very much. Then, understanding your direction, on behalf of my client, I would like to make the following statements as to the findings. Item number 1 of the resolution, now therefore be it resolved, is not correct. Item number 2, B states that the surrounding neighborhood and properties, that this project would be inconsistent. That's not true because there's multifamily next door on 2 sides. Again, number 2C is incorrect, that this project would be inconsistent with the neighborhood because there is higher density housing next door. Number 3 states that he could rebuild a single-family house. That's not correct because under your zoning ordinance, the property is currently abandoned, it's non-conforming, and it is condemned and therefore cannot be rebuilt. Number 4, enlarging or remodeling the existing single-family home would be more consistent. Again, that's not true. There's multifamily and industrial in the neighborhood. Number 5, again, not true because what other uses are there other than the permitted use that RM2 states? Conditional uses under item 5. Those conditional uses are churches, hospitals, and golf courses. You're not going to allow my client to do that on that property, are you? That's not true. So number 6 talks about if you did grant the extension, that would impact the neighbors and that they would not know what he was doing. All he needs is 2 signatures from the bank. to get his building permit. And then number 7 says he can reapply. Well, the zoning ordinance says he can't for a year if you deny this. And he's already in front of you right now reapplying, and you're saying no. So number 7's false.
Okay.
I got some more, but we can stop there.
Well, I would suggest if you have some more, then to continue so that you don't, think that we're
Well, there it
denying
goes then.
you
We'll give
your
it
opportunities.
Second bore. The redevelopment agency goals, your action will be inconsistent with the redevelopment agency project goals and policies for elimination of blight. The subject property is abandoned and condemned. The redevelopment agency 5-year implementation plan housing section states that the agency goal is to develop affordable housing. Your action is inconsistent with the general plan to maintain adequate housing for all income groups. Your action is inconsistent with the general plan housing element, specifically identifying this zoning for the use and development of affordable housing. Your action is inconsistent with the permitted uses in the RM2 zoning. The project is and was consistent with the lawfully established zoning. Further, my client's been denied due process as he relied on the staff representation in the zoning ordinance appeal process contained in the zoning ordinance that the project merits would not be appropriate discussion for the extension hearing. Further, that he was denied protections under the Brown Act and that the council acted on its own initiative and conducted an off-agenda public hearing on neighborhood complaints about established zoning classifications and their specific applications and uses within the city. And finally, that the council abused its discretion when it acted on information that was not within the scope of the information conducted at a properly noticed public hearing, and it acted inconsistent with and in violation of established Dixon City and Dixon Redevelopment Agency ordinances, resolutions, and policies.
Thank you, Mr. Drack. Any questions of Mr. Drack?
Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to council. While Mr. Drack has gone through and raised his objections to the therefore now be it resolved, I go back to what our city attorney has said. The actions that we took 2 weeks ago, in my opinion, are legal and justified. At this point, I don't see any reason to reverse that decision. Anybody else?
Summed it up.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion from council, I'll introduce a motion to adopt the resolution reversing the Planning Commission's approval of the one-time 1-year extension of 3 variances and 1 design review permit for the Asher Duplex project located at 271 and 271.5 South Jefferson Street.
I'll second that.
You moved, or you're seconding it?
You moved, the Vice Mayor moved? Or
I
who
thought
moved?
you moved.
Well, I said I'll entertain a motion, so
Oh, I thought you were.
Okay.
motioning. Sorry.
I'll make that motion then.
And then I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.